We interviewed emergency management expert Nick Miller back in October about preparing to evacuate when seconds count. Today he's back with us to show us what he has in his totes, either for a fun camping trip or for a disaster. Don't miss this.
Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Kylene.
And I'm Jonathan, and we are excited to be back with Nick Miller. He has been with us a couple of times before, and he is an expert on emergency management. Nick, tell us about your credentials, the things that you're doing, and why you are this expert.
I don't know about expert, but I do teach a lot of advanced medical courses, paramedic, EMT. Taught this many years, taught them to a lot of military groups. Also have a degree in emergency management, so I know the professional side of things, and I like to camp a lot. So I've just kind of grew up with it. I'm just kind of, it's my day job, and it's just kind of natural to me to do these things and answer all your questions.
Well, for those of you who may not have caught it, we did a video a few months ago with Nick called Prepare to Evacuate, How to Develop the Right Plan for Your Family. And I'll leave a link for you to that video. But one of the things that Nick talked about in there was that in his garage, he has these totes that are numbered and ready to go. And he uses them all the time for camping, but they're there and ready so that in some type of an evacuation or disaster scenario, he's got everything he needs ready to go. And so we invited him back today to actually talk a little bit more about that, because Jonathan and I thought that was an incredible idea.
Well, it truly is an awesome idea, because in the heat of the moment, sometimes our brains go weird. We have a hard time getting the right focus. And if you have the mental muscle memory, if you will, of knowing what needs to be done and where it is, so much better. Teach us a little bit more about that, Nick.
You know, it started for me not out of emergency plan. It started out of laziness. I just always, these times I thought I'd like to go camping, spur of the moment or something. And I didn't want to spend 2 hours collecting camping stuff. So I thought if I make my own little boxes and someone invited me or the weather was nice after work, I could just throw it in and go. So a lot of what I've discovered is out of a profound sense of laziness. I mean, efficiency to do the best, but we'll go through some of this stuff. And it never meant to be turned into an emergency response kit, but you know, your camping stuff can double as your emergency response kit. All right. So we're going from camping to rapid evacuation. This is what you were asking about. So this is my garage. You can see there's my garage door in the upper right corner. There's my little roof rack thingy. This is my camp stuff. I don't always take all these boxes, depends on the situation. But if I ever want to go camping, I just open the garage and throw these in the Suburban and off I go. There's one or two things I keep downstairs, like food, and everyone has to get their responsible for their own clothes and sleeping bag. But I took this, I think when we talked last time, I took this for a week Boy Scout camping, and it was all right. Well, my kid was having all sorts of goody fun. You were asking about the number system, so I was just showing something simple. I put these little red dots on here, yellow dots. I can just prioritize it. They go first. You know, I don't even bother with numbers. I'm too lazy for that. That's just to give you an example that we talked about. These were just little dots I got at Home Depot. Now, these containers I have are kind of heavy duty, so you might have to switch it out for a little bit of dab of paint or something, but you get the idea. Those boxes started because I just wanted to have a way to have my camping stuff ready to go. If on Friday on a whim, I go, it's nice weather, I'm gonna go camping. I didn't want to mess with spending a lot of time looking for the stuff, organizing the stuff. And also it's from, 20 plus years of bad camping experiences. What I think most people don't realize is they have stuff already in their house. I think almost everyone has a tent or some sort of camping stuff somewhere. And all you have to do is get it sorted out and maybe upgrade a few things so that it will work in an emergency situation. In my box, I have the stuff I take camping. There's some things, the very important things I've upgraded to make sure I could do some long-term stuff with it. A couple things I add that I leave in a box and I don't always take. And the main thing is just having it organized. I mean, just having the boxes just makes it so easy. I pull out the box when I go to camping. If my wife or someone needs something, I open the box, close the box. It's real simple. And most of it stays in the box. And then when I leave, I just pack it up, throw it back in the box, and off we go. To really be good, though, you have to use the stuff. And the advantage I have is I've been camping quite a bit all over the country over the last 30 years or so, and even before as a kid. So, make some family outings for a weekend and see your stuff. If you're lucky, you don't have to have a tent. If you have a travel trailer, that's great too. Pros and cons to everything. Make it work for you. I just want to reiterate that when we're talking about emergency evacuation for a tent, that is the last resort. Living in a tent long-term is not cool, especially if you like indoor plumbing. So it should be the last of your many layers. If you have to lose your house, you should have your insurance, you should have friends, family house, you should have a temporary quarters. You should be thinking about what would you do to get a hotel room long term or something. You have to have layers so that you have the pleasure of indoor plumbing and a hot shower before you get to this level. It's just fun to do for a week or two, but after a month or two, you might not be happy. But if you have something major, like a major hurricane, take out all these areas, or like in Hawaii, half that area of the island got burnt. It's about the size of New Jersey. You may not have a hotel. They may be all taken up. There may not be a building to go to. And this may be the last resort until you can make other arrangements somewhere, or FEMA can send down travel trailers for you to live in, or whatever it is. Water is your enemy. Environmental issues are bad. So when you're out there long term, things get wet easy. They stay wet. So you have to really work harder to keep your stuff dry and to protect you and your stuff from the environment. Too hot, too cold, the wind, the rain, all that. Hygiene, of course, is paramount long term. In the Air Force, their medics are also trained to be food inspectors and hygiene inspectors, because they don't want the forces who are setting up base camp to go down due to food illnesses or dysentery. So that is huge. The military has learned that the hard way. The big thing, too, with the organization advances, never assume you're going to be able to get what you want at the store at the destination or during a major event. I mean, I remember several times just camping with the wife. Oh, we'll just pick one up on the way there. And then lo and behold, the store doesn't have it. And that's on a good day with stores. So Get your stuff ready in advance. I would say first thing was I've learned for many years, do not use duffel bags. Learn that the hard way. You want hard shell containers. You want heavy duty ones. These are by Plano. I think I got these at Cabela's, but they're sold at Academy, lots of places. What I like is you can sit on them, you can stand on them, you can stack them. And this lip comes around the outside, which is really important because that keeps the water out. I mean, if you submerge it, it's not watertight, but it is, for the most part, rainproof. And then they have the clips on the sides to keep the lid on. So I've left these out, and it always rains camping. And I've had it rain for 1 or 2 days and it just stays in there and everything's dry in the box. So easy. I also get the smallest size I can because just easier to pick up, throw in the box. But I have some longer ones just because the tent poles were too long for the shorter box. Otherwise, I'd have all short boxes. So I have the small short one, and then I have one that's like 6 inches longer for the tent poles. And actually, I put the tents in the boxes now. It's so much easier than trying to roll it up and get it fit in a bag. I just throw the tent poles in the bottom, throw the tent in, and lock it up. Now, you could probably save a little bit of room if you put it in the bag, but I'm too lazy for that. It would just eat up so much time and stress camping. I just do it in the box. I don't have to think about it anymore. It's great. Standardize the boxes. And these, like I said, stickers don't stay on very well. So I had to actually write, with my beautiful handwriting. I should have been a doctor. I couldn't put my label maker to work. So I just wrote what that box is. There's kitchen box, just to give you an idea. So there are a lot of categories when camping. So you better think about all these in advance, or else you'll find out the hard way the next morning or the next day. But I'm going to leave these here. These are what we're going to go through one at a time. And they're all in these little boxes right here, these 2 shelves for the most part. Got some water over here, some fuel over there, but they're pretty much just here. And they just sit there and wait to go out and have a good time. So tent. I learned the hard way in 2004, camping in the Boundary Waters, the importance of a high quality, strong tent. I went camping with some buddies. They had just your regular overnight car camp tent. They had like half of a rain fly, and it rained all week. And it soaked the rain came through sideways from the wind, came all the way under the tarp, soaked us. We were soaked for a week. It was miserable. I became an expert on tents because I was never, ever going to do that again. Most weekend camp tents are not durable. And the first clue I know the tent's not durable is the tarp. So if you look at this outside tarp, this is my Cabela's, the Alaskan Wilderness. It's like 20 years old. So, it's certainly a little bit, but it still works great. If this tarp doesn't go all the way down, rain's going to come through the side. I can tell you that. Since I've had this tent, all my rain problems have gone away. So you want a 4-season tent that's wind rated. So see, if you look on this tent, I got extra guy lines. I think the rating on this is something like 40 to 50 miles an hour. I think when it came out, they had a jet engine blasting on it. And it has extra reinforced poles. So you can see in kind of the crosses, there's actually 6 poles to this tent. And they wrap around this like a cocoon. And I like the dome because it's a freestanding tent. So I don't have to worry about one pole holding it up. And the other thing is when you push on a dome tent one way with wind, it kind of locks in the other way. So it's a very stable tent. This one has the reinforced guy lines. But when I do car camping during the week, I don't even put these guy lines on anymore. It takes up too much time. I'll just put the guy lines that keep the tent open, the outer wall open. But I don't even do half these anymore. But if I need to, they're there. I've learned over the years, my tent's so strong, I don't need half of them for most of what I do, just camping. Which would make sure is that it is 4-season rated, so that snow with that reinforcement can come off. God forbid you're in the snow. I like camping in the snow, but living in the snow is a different thing. You want to make sure that they're really good quality material. Like this is really good quality 210 denier polyester and 75 denier polyester on the tarp. You want to really have that good stuff. Some people like canvas, and if you got a big enough car, that's great. But canvas is heavy, about 4 times as heavy and 4 times as big to pack. And it's not always quite as waterproof. You have to keep it oiled, you have to maintain it. There are some advantages canvas, but overall, unless you're a professional camper in Alaska that you need a stove, it's probably not going to be advantage. This one folds up in a box. Canvas tents won't do that. So again, make it work for you in your situation. And then you want what's called a bathtub floor. So the bottom of this tent, if you can see here by the front door here, the bathtub floor is extra thick, waterproof, and it comes up about 6 inches, like a bathtub. I've had water before at the Scout. For some reason, the Scouts put the weeblos in a floodplain during rain, and I had this flood 5 inches up to an inch from that bathtub, and everything inside was dry. It's worth the money to get the tent. And then the other thing you want to make sure in that tent fly is, if you notice, the tarp and the tent bathtub overlap. So where there's air on the bottom, there's still the bathtub coming up. That keeps the water out. Huge. I can't tell you how much of an enemy water is if you have to live in it long term. So the double wall, you want a double wall tent. So the inner wall of this is mostly screen. And then the outer wall is the tarp that keeps the rain out. So they call that a double wall tent. And notice I pull this out so there's ventilation. So they don't touch. The outer wall's on the poles on the outside, and then the inner wall is kind of clicked. If you look over here to the left where my arrow is, you can kind of see where the screen, see the screen there? That allows good ventilation while making it still 4-season, and it keeps the condensation from forming on the inside. Aluminum poles, fiberglass poles break. I can't tell you how many fiberglass poles I've already repaired at Scout Camp. You want the aluminum, they're lighter, they're stronger. I've had those aluminum 20 years, no problems. Quality zippers. And I don't know if I put it on here, but make sure you can stand up in the tent because you're going to want to change clothes. And changing clothes in a pup tent is annoying. So this tent comes in a 4-man, a 6-man, and an 8-man. And I picked the 6-man because it was the smallest size I could stand up in. Of course, I didn't have kids or anything then. It was just me and the wife. I've used this tent all over the country. This is Mississippi State Park. I've had tornadoes hit a mile from me, and I slept snug as a bug. I've camped in the winter, camped in the summer, and 20 years, this thing's still holding up. So for me, it was worth the money. And then you also want a vestibule. So a vestibule is this little extra spot you can zip down to put your equipment to keep dry. So it's not in the tent where you're using sleep space. So they call that a vestibule. So this will zip down. I use this a lot to keep my cooler out of the sun. I'll just set my cooler right there on the side. You want outer and inner floor protectors. So my tent came with a Tyvek floor liner on the bottom. So I put that on the bottom of the dirt, protect from the sticks and stones. And I also had an inner floor liner, especially important if you're wanting to use cots and heavy things. I like the inner storage panels. You can put your watches and flashlight, miscellaneous stuff, and not have it all over the place. Talked about the vestibule. We talked about lightweight. Having access for electric. If you're out at a campsite that has electricity or you're there for a couple weeks, you might want to use that. Put that cord. So mine has a little zipper on the back. I can run a cord through, or I can run a AC vent or whatever I want to run through it. So make sure you have that. And then have a good mallet with a stake puller. So invest in a really good mallet. And a stake puller has like a hook on the end, like a really good hook. So you can just flip it over to pull out that stake. And then make sure you get heavy duty stakes. The original stakes I got with this tent, they all bent the first time I used it. But they had heavy duty ones I could pay extra for, of course. So I bought those heavy duties and I've used those they're great. Get thick, heavy duty, you don't have to worry about breaking stakes. Because you're using your car. This isn't backpacking. So I throw those in the bottom of the box, throw the tent on top, off I go. And then for optional, I have a rubber mat here. You can this was an older carpet one I used. I switched to rubber just to kind of keep the dirt and stuff off. And then some optional things, like I said, the mat. This is a screen tent. I'm really not enthused with this one, but I bought this one because it folds up small. It's a Kelty screen tent. In fact, if someone knows something better, I will fold up. Let me know. It's okay. I need one bigger. This is real nice. Keep your kitchen stuff underneath if you need to, or you can put it out front of your vestibule for like a rain block as you step out of the tent or something. One neat little trick I learned was my dad is take like fishing pole holders, like these little metal rods you keep a pole on. And I put my boots on them upside down and keep the bugs out. That works really good when you worry about bugs getting in your boots or things like that. So let's talk about bedding. I have a box and it goes in the tent after I set up the tent. And it has I use these really heavy duty inflatable mattresses by Coleman, about 8 inches thick. I've learned the hard way. It's better to just give everyone their own twin size mattress than to try to share a queen, because every time someone turns, you're going to bounce up and down. I keep the bedding for it. So the sheets and pillows, I keep some inflatable pillows. This is my older fan. I keep just to keep the ventilation going. I keep a lamp that I can hang up on the top. My tent, I have a pump, of course. I keep the batteries separate in a box. So if they go bad, they don't destroy my pump or whatever. Every year I have to take out a D cell or whatever, put a new one in. And then I got a brush and broom to handle it, but I also have this thing called a dust buster I keep in my car. Makes cleaning the tent heck of a lot easier. Long term, you probably don't have to go this brush because electricity might be hard to get. But I tell you what, that has saved me like 2 or 3 fights with the wife alone, that little dust buster. The kitchen, first thing you need for a kitchen is I got this great little folding table from Coleman. I've had this 20 years. So this is the actual kit. This is half of the table and it folds in half and everything else just goes in it. So I like to have this if I'm camping, lots of kids or whatever. If it's just me and my wife, I might just use the picnic table, at the campsite. But if there's no picnic table, I'm going to want to place the food prep. And this thing folds up super small. I can even throw it in a canoe and go canoe camping if I wanted to. So you want to get that. You want to have a camp stove. Nothing beats a good old Coleman camp stove. 2 burners, propane. You can either get them where you pour it in the fuel or you can pump it manually or attach it to a propane tank. I upgraded one to one that was a little narrower and had a auto start, but just 2 simple burners. I can do anything with 2 burners. If you have like 19 kids like you guys do, get 2 stoves. Get 3 stoves. I'm jealous. I only have 1. I wish I had a little army, kids. Another thing I do, the things you're going to also need is your utensils and cutlery. I just took a Sears. I went to Sears and got a tool roll, like wrenches.
Okay.
We start with cutlery on the left and then all the cooking tools on the right, and I just roll it up. And then I unroll it. I took 2 little carabiners and I hang it. So that's all my cooking tools. Packs up real small. And then pots and pans. Get the ones made for camping. I like nonsticks. So much trouble. So these are the ones I think by GSI or MSR. They both make good ones, but this has the handle that comes off. So you just clamp the handle, and then the skillets double as lids. They all nest. Saves a lot of space, but they're still big handles. Very important. Get either a kettle. You can use a percolator for coffee instead. But a lot of what you're going to be doing is boiling water. Boiling water for food, boiling water to sterilize it, boiling water to wash your face off. All you're going to do is boil water. So a big kettle or a big percolator also can make coffee is great. I don't really percolate coffee anymore. I use instant now. So I just kind of switched to a lighter, big kettle. The kettles are invaluable when you're camping. They're the most underrated piece of equipment, I think. Cups and bowls and plates. I have plastic and disposable because sometimes you're not going to be able to wash if you're like temporarily camping or you just get lazy with the kids. It's much easier just to pass it out. Coffee mugs with lids, that's good for keeping the bugs out, and the double wall keeps your coffee warm because coffee is very, very important to me. Your usual stuff, your measuring cups and strainers. I keep a roll of heavy duty aluminum foil. I mean, you use foil packets all the time. So I just keep a roll in there and I get the heavy duty. I don't worry about tearing. I can double it up. And then I also have a Coleman 2-burner griddle, just sits right on top of the stove. It's getting old and beat up. All my stuff's like 20 years old. It still works. But I use that all the time for the kids, making pancakes or bacon or sausage. In fact, when we had that power outage this summer, I set this up just like this, and I put the griddle on, and I made all the kids in the neighborhood pancakes. Sits up and down pretty easy. Then I put my paper. They have this little hook here thing you can hook utensils on. I use mine down here, but it holds the paper towels pretty good too. And then you have a lantern up here because I can't tell you how many times I've had to cook in the dark because I got there late. But I also splurged on this little light. I don't know if you can see what the arrow is, but the light on the stove, it's a magnet, invaluable. Also want to make sure you have your sinks. So I get these collapsible sinks. I don't want them too big because I got to put hot water in them a lot. And I got this collapsible little dish rack at Target. And I got the 2 little sinks at REI. So I can wash, rinse, and hang to dry real easy after I cook. Got my Dawn, got my dish towels. You also want your tablecloth, your napkins, all the usual stuff you use when you go picnicking or camping. So that's food. Here's my equipment box just to show you that it all fits in these little tubs. So here's all the little campy goodies that you need. Here it is all laid out just to show you how much you can stuff if you know how to play Tetris. I keep in here first a fire starting kit. You got to have a bonfire. So I keep fire starters. I just use the Boy Scout homemade ones. Take a paper 8 crate, sawdust, and old candles. Works amazing. Get the stormproof matches, not the waterproof, stormproof. The Yuko stormproof matches with their orange. They will work any condition. You don't have to worry, unlike a lighter, you don't have to worry about getting too close or the wind blowing out. You just light it, set it on. And then I have a metal match, aka a flint steel. If all else fails, I run out of lighter fluid or matches, I have a flint steel. But also with the lighter, I get the longer one that's flexible to fit in my box because I like that distance. Get your batteries, your bug spray, your mosquito repellent. I like 100% DEET. The more DEET, the better in my world. So sunblock, at least 30 SPF. I think they want 50 now, but keep a bunch of tubs of that because I got kids. Toilet paper, that's the orange here. It's protected from water. So that this is a neat protector for toilet paper. And then I double protected it because my wife will be very unhappy if there's no toilet paper. So paracord and string, because you're going to need a clothesline. I got this new stuff that's reflective, so I don't clothesline myself. Haven't got to break it in yet. LED flashlights, some extra ones, tent repair kit, just used that this summer. The nice stuff, I had a little hole in my rainfly, just put the tent repair tape on it, done. Clothespins, You ever take kids swimming? You're going to need clothespins and lots of clothespins. Clothesline without clothespins is not very helpful. A lot of trash bags, of course, hand sanitizer. Hygiene's important when you're out in the woods. Don't forget your tools, a hatchet, a folding saw, and a shovel. I always bring a big shovel because you can always dig a drain line around your tent. That has saved me from a couple floods out in the boonies. You can use it to make sure the ashes are all clean and stirred up. You can use it for all sorts of things you didn't think you needed a shovel for. I always have a military spec folding one. This is a big old one, has US on it. I've had this 30 years, works great. I have a case for it because you don't want all the dirt. You only want to clean your tools super great. Of course, I have 2 small lanterns that'll fit in the box. I have 2 tanks each for them. I like the lanterns over the lights, batteries in this case, just because they'll kill bugs as they attract them, where it's just the LED battery. I just get lots of bugs. I also, if you need more light, get the double mantle ones, the old school ones, but these were 1 lantern. They fit really small and they work for what I use them for. That's your equipment. There's just a bigger picture. Those pins. See, I put them in these little boxes so they can stack easier, make more room. Duct tape. You always use duct tape and electrical tape. I always carry electrical tape because it works better for a lot of things than duct tape, believe it or not. So safety. I carry a comprehensive first aid kit, big one. So that has more of the things. We talked about a small first aid kit, but we never really talked about the comprehensive one. So this bigger kit can keep things like splints and eye wash and ice packs and tourniquets and things you can't really carry on a little one. I use this all week at scout camp, pulling off ticks, cuts and scrapes, blisters, you name it. I use this thing all week. I keep a fire extinguisher handy because you never know when something bad is going to happen. I mean, I just read a couple weeks ago where some idiot poured gasoline on a bonfire, caught this girl near to it, killed her, 80% burns. The fire exploded on her. So at that time, some people carry a bucket of water. Sometimes they don't find it. I just have it there in the box. And then I had room for my fan because I don't like getting hot. So I upgraded to a big Ryobi, big battery fan. But I keep a bigger kit. We can talk about that sometime if you want, what's in a bigger kit. But use that thing a lot. It doesn't have to be too big. It's about the size of a shoebox. Hygiene. I don't take this with me, but I have one. The reason I don't take this with me is because my wife doesn't let me go places that don't have indoor plumbing. In a real situation, if you're doing boondock camping out where there isn't any, or you're now having to stay in a field that doesn't have any, you're going to need hygiene. You've done whole videos on this, Jonathan, so I won't get in. You're the expert.
This is something that sometimes we totally forget about and we can't.
This is his favorite subject. So what he's saying is he wants you to get into it.
Yes.
The military and even some of those camping books we talked about, they'll talk about how to dig latrines and, do all that. But I have a little privacy tent because like in the boundary waters, they'll dig a hole in a latrine. The only place you can go to the restroom is like 50 yards from the campsite. And literally all it is a metal toilet seat. There's nothing around it. When I learned this, we took girls camping to the boundary waters and they were not happy. But they make special privacy tents for like $70, $80 at Bass Pro Shops. And you can take the floor out, you can leave it in, you can use it for showers, you can use it to change clothes, you can use it for putting the camp toilet over it for some privacy. It's packed small, so I have it in the box. Get some 5-gallon buckets, portable toilet. I put extra toilet paper, hand sanitizer. Also you can put a camp shower. They make really elaborate things that you can stick into a jerry can and pump it out and heats it for you to just a solar powered little drain thing. It's up to you. I mean, you don't even need the shower, really. You can just boil water or use dude wipes or whatever. Extra trash bags. And then a lot of people hygiene, they forget about keeping the clothes clean. So extra towels, soap, washing detergent. I recommend the powder. Packs a lot better. Much more versatile than liquid, a lot lighter weight. Plungers, you've seen the things with the buckets, you can wash clothes or use a washboard, and then extra clothesline and clothespins. I don't really take this one for fun camping. I have this for, something went wrong. Or if I ever get to live my dream of living out in Alaska for a week by myself and, or something with other people. So food, this is not in my garage because I don't want it to go bad. The 2 types of food I take for emergency go out, I have MREs and I got dehydrated meals. I take also these hydrated meals. I go backpacking a lot, so they're great for that. So I have these in about a 6-inch deep box. They sit on top. The MREs come in a pack of 12. MREs are really good because I don't have to boil water. I don't have to do anything. I already have napkins and condiments and extra toilet paper and all sorts of little goodies already individually contained. A lot of people say they taste like crap. It's probably because they were left in a garage and went bad. The MREs, if you leave them in a cool area, they last 4 to 7 years. And then the hotter it gets, the less that time shrinks. So I always recommend that you buy them direct from the manufacturer. So I bought these direct from MRE Star. And MREs really, when they're new, they're not bad. They're just bland because they're made to please the most amount of people. So they tend to be bland, and then they give you like little Tabasco sauces or little ketchups and salts and peppers, and you flavor them the way you like them. They usually have a cookie in them. They usually have a bread. They're nice. I take these on a lot of day hikes just when I'm lazy. Just take one and go. You can heat up your food as a flameless heater with limestone. The dehydrated meals, the advantage is you get more variety. You have to boil water for these, but I can put 32 of these in this little tub for the same thing I may be able to put 10 MREs. So I have 3 or 4 of these tubs. I can pack 2 months of food in like 3 boxes. So don't forget also desserts and fruits, like they do like dehydrated ice cream or they do dehydrated strawberries or other things. So remember that. Remember your condiments and spices. MREs have them, but you might need to bring some. Bring snacks and treats. Keep people happy. Beverage powders. So I always have coffee. I don't do tea too much, except for iced tea. Fruit drinks, because filtered water, it filters out bugs for bad stuff, but it doesn't filter out things that taste bad. Even with activated charcoal, you're going to want Kool-Aid. In fact, I remember watching a documentary on Vietnam and the soldiers begging his mom to send Kool-Aid because the water is terrible. And then great morale food, hot chocolate. Great for kids, great for people, morale when it's cold at night. Avoid things that melt. So I avoid chocolate, unfortunately, but I'll take granola bars that don't melt. I'll take things that don't melt just because I don't like melt. It'll get all over me. And then keep this stuff inside, climate control until you need it. Coolers. If you have time to use real food and have a cooler, I take coolers all the time. I can tell you carrying 2 little coolers is much easier on your back than 1 big one. So I usually take this little one here with the shoulder strap. I'll take 2 of them and then it'll do me good. If you get a big one, I recommend wheels. Very much important, wheels. But even so, you still have to pick that up and get it into the cart. You're talking 50, 60 pounds sometimes. You got all that water and stuff in there. My little trick is I take all my I have fridges, an extra fridge in the garage and an extra one downstairs, is I freeze water bottles. So that way when the ice melts, it doesn't get wet on all of my stuff. But when these little ones, 16 ounces, will last about 2 days, and then I got drinking water, nice and cold. They won't last a whole week. But for longer term, a whole week or whatever, like power goes out, I got these big milk jugs I filled up with water and froze. Those will last a long time to keep your cooler cold. And then you can drink it when it melts. And then you're not getting 6 inches of water in your cooler. It's all contained. Water. Good idea to bring some water with you in an emergency. When I go camping, I always take this blue water jug cooler with the spigot. I used to get one of those collapsible ones, thinking it would fit in the box smaller, easier. But after the 3rd one fell off the picnic table and punctured on a stick, I gave up on that. I like to have this just sits on the picnic table or on a table. And whenever you need water, you'd be amazed how much you need water. You need water, boil food, cook, whatever. You just wash your hands, whatever. There's water. And this one's a cooler too, so I can put an ice block in it if I wanted to. The other thing neat about this one is you can't see it, but on the back it has wheels. So like especially at scout camp, wherever when you're wheeling it to the spigot and back, you have to carry it, you just wheel it, fill up the spigot. So here's the 2 water jugs. I bought a whole bunch of these in surplus a long time ago, these military grade ones in the 5 gallon. And now that I'm getting older, I really like these 2.5. Much easier to carry, much easier to put in the car. You can get these brand new at REI. Like the little one here is like 50 and the big one here is like 70. A little pricey. But the other advantage these things have, besides being indestructible, is they have these really wide mouths. I can stick my hand in that, I can stick a brush, and I can clean them. So these are by Scepter. They're really good. And then the little air release is right here on the lid itself. And it even has a smaller opening to fill your canteen or whatever. So I'll take this jug, put it in here when I'm using it. Saves me problems. Or two of these little ones or one of these big ones. Now, Scepter's really good. Now, if you don't want to spend $70 in a water bottle, I get it. It's time when I didn't want to either. I didn't spend that much on these. I got them like $10 each, a long time ago. It was used. I think the Scepter is probably some of the best for fuel and water that there is. Here's the civilian version. It's definitely lighter than the military version. You can see it even because of the nice spigot. The air release is back here, but it's a much narrower opening here. You can't get a brush in there very easily. Do what's best for you, but if you're going to use civilian, this one was at Cabela's for like $20. So still, this might be the best option for you. Or I know I was a poor medic once that couldn't even afford an apartment, much less a house. So I get it. I also bring a base camp water filter. Anytime I base camp backpacking or in the plung, and I don't get one of these little ones. I get a big Katadyn one that holds like a gallon or 2 of water, and I just take it, then I can hang it up. I don't have to go every 5 minutes and find water. If you're at a place where you can't get potable water, or you have to, the water's no longer, and the hoses or sinks no longer potable, have a water filter and get the big one because save you a lot of trips. Fuel. Most of the time, all I bring is propane. And I learned a long time ago, it's much easier to carry one big propane tank for the week than 75 little ones. With propane and the equipment, I have the propane extension tubing. And I found these at Costco. And what I love about these tanks is they have a gauge on them. You ever seen that? Costco
Yes.
has these. I cleaned house on that, man. Because I can't tell you how many times I'm barbecuing in the back of my gas grill and I don't know the tank's empty and I'm not going to pick it up and weigh it. Now I can just look. That thing's awesome. Again, fuel canisters. Here are the same Scepter, same material or whatever. Now it's for fuel. These are again made by the military. Notice the wide openings. This is made so they can pour them into vehicles quickly. I prefer the plastic over the metal ones because metal ones rust. I bought a real nice metal cherry can once and it rusted in Louisiana. The other thing about this is they got the really durable screws, really high tight. I don't have to worry about like the little cheap cans like leaking. I don't have to worry about leaks with this one. And according to the military, I can shoot this and not catch it on fire. So these are about the same price. And then you even can get color coded. I didn't get them because I got these used for, $10 instead of the full price. But you can, the little lips here that hold the lid on when you unscrew it, you can get them color coded for gas or diesel or kerosene, red, yellow, blue. If you're worried about that, you can get them color coded. You want high quality containers. And then again, I always have enough to fill up in an emergency. So like when I was in hurricane land, my wife might evacuate. Gas went quick. So when I got advance warning, either me or the wife went down and we filled up gas tanks. So I don't keep gas in my garage every day. I don't want that much gas in my house, but they're there in case I need them. Because try to buy a gas can when you need it. Good luck. And I want good ones that can store. And then I say to my water, I want water that I can load up. So this sits right to my camping stuff. If I need to take water, probably won't take them all in the first run. But I know I got 75 gallons of water just sitting there I can take,
I'm a little bit jealous of those containers.
I told my wife this is the real reason I go to the gun shows, bi-monthly for the surplus. Follow local ordinance. Some counties and places have max you can keep in a house or whatever. Don't keep too much gas. I never keep them full unless there was a disaster like hurricanes. And then I don't like to transport fuel inside my car. So I have this little rack here that plugs into the trailer hitch and just sits right there. You can see how wide it is. It's the whole length of my car. I can put a couple of these and a couple of those. Now, when I go normal camping, I might just take 1 5-liter jug or 2 of these 2 liters. Now that I like those smaller ones better now. And it just sits in my garage. So don't think you're going to get a lot of stuff. Those gas are empty. So don't send the fire department on me. Tables and chairs, get the ones that fold up. So this is an aluminum one. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it rolls. The table rolls out. Much easier than folding tables to carry and move around. I've had that for 20 years. It's amazing. So if I camp somewhere that doesn't have a picnic table or I need an extra table, that one's there. And this little one, I didn't think I'd like, and I love this little thing. I didn't like how it didn't roll up, but it's just small enough that it can sit by my chair. I can put it inside the tent. But what I really like it for is when you go to Boy Scout camps or a lot of these showers at the state parks, they have nowhere for you to set your clothes or your bag, and it's just soaked floor. So I would take this, I grab it, I walk with me to the shower at camp, set it up, put my clothes on that. Keep them dry. Optional, I got this out of a kid's book on camping with kids. I got a box of just games and toys. So I have a box with a small set of washers that work out. I got, Nerf footballs, Frisbees, Travel Scrabble, deck of cards, Uno, whatever they need to keep people entertained, while you're camping, something to do. And especially if it's raining, those in games in the tent while you're sitting and waiting. Went on a float trip once in college and we got delayed like 5 hours because it rained and no one wanted to go out in the rain. We were very bored. Games would have been nice. That's optional. So if you look at my thing, it's the yellow one because I don't have to take it. But that's what I take camping, and with little upgrades, with the hygiene and little upgrades to the tent, you have a really good evacuation kit. And also that stuff is old. Most of that stuff's 20 years old and it still works.
That's important that you buy good quality things that will last 20 or 30 years. Sometimes we try and shortcut things and sometimes we have to, but having something that'll last 20 years is a wonderful goal.
It is, and some things are shortcut, but the other thing is when you have to shortcut, as soon as you can get something better, get something better. Right. Like when those gas cans go on sale, get them when they go on sale. It's just like when you're stocking your food pile, wait till something goes on sale.
That's an important reminder for us. That's my thing because that's what I have done a lot is, I'll wait till I can do it right. No, do what you can do and then upgrade as you can.
Yeah, my partner on the truck, we used to have this phrase, anything that can go wrong will go wrong on our shift. That's why I didn't throw things away. My wife says I'm an organized hoarder. As you can see, that's just 2 shelves. Those shelves are 6 foot wide. And I forgot to mention too, if you're in the cold, you can always take a Mr. Buddy heater. That's how I get my wife to camp in the winter. These are safe, I think, to use in tents. So
I'm a fan of Mr. Buddy heaters, actually. Very, very much.
Yes. But everything just sits there and then it just goes in my car. Now I have a bigger car than most people, so you might need to get the roof rack. Just be careful with the roof rack. Read your owner's manual on how much weight you can carry. Because my Suburban one can carry 220 pounds. So littler cars are less. And that's it. That's it for camping. Then you go out and have a good time.
Oh, Nick, you are so amazing. Thank you so much. This is one area where we are trying really hard to get all of our ducks in a row, and every family is different. right?
Mhm.
Everybody has different needs, and you have to adapt it specifically for you and your needs. If you're a single elderly lady, you're going to be doing very different things than if you're a young family with a lot of little kids. So
Absolutely. If you're
yeah,
by
I think
yourself, find friends who do this. I'm a single lady. I may not be good at this or can carry this or can load this, but maybe I have a son or a stepson or a neighbor that can.
all that is really important that we take into consideration. But we do need to be able to be prepared to evacuate at a moment's notice. And we need to be prepared to just be able to enjoy life on a moment's notice, right? And to do things like maybe go camping and get away from all the craziness. So, Nick, you are a wealth of information. Thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing knowledge and skills and time with us.
Oh, it's just I like camping. No.
Now for the question of the day. What have you done that might be similar to what Nick is showing us here? Share your ideas with us. And thanks for being part of the solution.